that.
Mm. So it's interesting that was a very poignant video, but the part that really got me, and this is the part that's going to offend the most people in the LGBT community, actually more of the T community, and that is, this is where we have to really pay attention to this because everything the cabal does is a very slow roll to get you to where they really want. So their goal is over here, right? But you're here currently and don't know that they're slowly acclimating you to get to this point. And that point would be transhumanism, because if if they can chip you and put willingly, that's what's going to happen next. Willingly, I want graphene oxide in my body. Willingly, I want to be chipped. Willingly, I want digital IDs, and willingly, I want some type of functionality where I'm half human and half machine. Right? How do you get people there? You have to get them willing to unidentify, and that's what they're doing in mass.
Yep.
Is people are unidentifying,
Yep.
and then you can open up, say, well, let's re-identify you. Transhuman is really cool. Look at all the benefits,
Yep.
and that's the game that they play.
She said it right there. She said, once you're at a point where you don't know your own gender, you said it's really not a far fetch, like you said, to jump over to transhumanism. It's like you don't know your gender, you don't know your identity. If a person without an identity can be given one, right? Person has a very strong sense of who they are. It's never going to impact me in any negative way because I know where I stand on that. And it felt that way because my best friend in high school was a gay guy, a black gay guy, was my best friend in high school. We still communicate on Facebook every once in a while, right? But I was never threatened by it because I had a strong sense of who I was or who I am, right? And once you take that away, guess what? Now we can manipulate you. Now we can put you into the direction you want to put you. Very poignant. Very good point, Lewis. Thanks for bringing that one in focus. Anything else about that video grab you? Because it was a longer video. There was a lot in there, and
I missed her name. Do you know what her name
I
was?
didn't get her name. It wasn't on because it's been shared on Twitter a lot last night. It just started popping up. I started to see it 6 or 7 times. I'm like, yeah, okay, let me go watch it. Because when something pops up a lot, then I go, I should pay attention. I'm not going to watch a 4 minute video typically, if I don't know what it's about. But that one just hit home.
Yeah,
Watched that and I was like, I need to grab this.
yeah. It's interesting because when I first heard her, I'm like, is that Melania? Right? And then I obviously figured it out. But
Yeah.
I'm curious to see who she is. But she was on point, just on point, on point, on point. And the George Orwell dystopia is very important because I think that was a very predictive model. And I don't think that was it. I'm almost wondering if that guy saw into the future, and it's a warning. It's very interesting.
Yeah, 1984. When was it actually written, though? It was written 20 years prior, wasn't it?
Yep.
So a long time ago. I don't know
Yep.
how, did they have tools back then to see into the future? Was he just very intuitive? Was he just someone who could read the trends, read the tea leaves? We don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are some pretty good tea leaves all the way back then to
Yeah.
predict everything that's happening today.
Yeah. Literally. And maybe it was the playbook. Maybe he wrote it as a fantasy, but people picked up on it and said, "Oh, we can actually make this happen." Then he laid
Oh,
out
would
the
that
map.
be would that be sad?
Yeah.
Right. He wrote it as a warning, and then it became a script.
It became a roadmap. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Lovely.
Don't know.
I guess I'll be careful what I say on this show from now on.
Exactly, exactly. Well, we have a good track record so far, so we haven't messed up too much since we started. So I'm still anxious to know how many shows we've done. It's kind of interesting because we're here every day, and we just kind of think of it, and the weeks just kind of zip by, and we go, "Well, how many shows? What show is this? What episode is it?" I have no idea.
It makes two of us.
Yeah. Boy, I was looking at this video. Araceli shared it as well. So when I hear two people sharing it, I go, I probably need to share this. I was kind of uncertain if I wanted to share this one, but San Francisco, the San Francisco treat today. If I look at this video, I want you to try and count how many American.
Is losing count. There's none. There's not one American flag on the street. Well, it is San Francisco though, so that's a communist city.
Yeah, but it's, still somewhat of an American city. I mean, I know there are a lot of Chinese there and that kind of thing.
Used to be one of the top American cities where
Yeah.
that's something everybody would like to talk about,
Yep.
actually. That's what America was. I mean, that's what San Francisco was.
Yep.
And now it's become, another armpit shithole of humanity. That's what you just keep voting those liberals in there, and you're going to do just really well.
So instead of welcoming Xi Jinping to America and showing him what America is about, we show up with Chinese communist flags.
Yeah, of course.
And it's like it's very odd. Did they tell them not to bring them? There should have been some Americans there.
You would think, right? Or who knows? Maybe I bet you Gavin Newsome probably took them to Chinatown for breakfast and dinner also. You know what I mean? Because they're so out of touch. But when you should be taking them to an In-N-Out burger.
Yeah, and they're well connected. We know that this thing in California, Gavin Newsome gave $1 billion to a company in China. The problem was the company didn't make masks as an auto manufacturer. Nobody ever questioned it.
Well, it's all payoffs. We know how it works. I mean, hey, there is good news that came out of this. At least the streets of San Francisco in a certain area got cleaned up.
They got cleaned up. I know. This is Biden meeting Xi Jinping here on the airplane.
Oh, that is hilarious. I love that.
Yeah, so that's our esteemed president.
I'm coming, G.
I'm coming. Wait for me. I'll be there any minute.
I have another check for you, Joe. I have another check for you. Just come up the steps and you get it.
Please do that. So then we have that, and then we have the protesters clashing. I'll show you. This is from Daily Mail. It was interesting here. They're showing here the protesters are clashing with the riot police. Riot police in San Francisco. Go figure. Look at the way they describe them. They say hundreds of anti-oil, pro-Palestine protesters. Wrap your head around that one. Anti-oil, pro-Palestine.
Anti-oil.
How are those two connected?
They're not trying to throw a narrative into our subconscious, are they?
I don't think so.
They would never do anything like that.
No, they would never do any. Yeah, you look at these things and you have to ask. They clashed with riot police outside of the APEC summit in San Francisco.
Half as many that they have just to yell about Palestine. I think it's a sad commentary on what's really going on here.
Is it the fear of coming out against those?
Well, it unfortunately the fear is on the conservative side, and that's what's really scary because they have bought into the psyop that the meek means docile and people that don't speak up. That's a complete psyop. That's not even the truth. But they bought into that, and then when you have the Sean Hannitys of the world and other people saying it's disrespectful to go protest, right? Then that comes there. And then the other thing is, the reality is the Marxist left is so organized, and they are sheep. So in defense to the conservatives not showing up, the Marxist left are sheep. So if somebody says you need to show up here, they just wholesale, they open their mouth, drool is coming out of one side, they walk like robots to their spot and do what they're supposed to do.
Yep.
So that's a fact. Conservatives kind of him and haw, think about it, overanalyze everything. But, I would like to be there personally, just slap them back the head. This is our children we're talking about. Oh, okay. Now I'll go. So it is very hard for us to get traction because there's the psyops have been perpetrated on the conservative side for a long time. And then we tend to overanalyze everything. And then we make connections that aren't even true. Like, well, look at all the people that got arrested in January 6th. Okay. Out of 2 million people, let's even say 1,000 got arrested, right? Most of those that got arrested were actually entered the Capitol. Those arrests aren't happening anywhere else in the country. So can we just drop that BS excuse? We just got to get rid of that one completely. That was in corporate DC. The rest of the United States isn't there yet. But I'll tell you what, if you just don't stand up, we're going to be there soon.
Yeah, it's just, the left is interesting because on the one hand, they're pro-abortion. That community tends to be on the left, but then you ask the question, you said it right, it's like, where are the people on the right? Where are the conservatives? Why aren't we standing up? Why aren't we protesting? Why aren't we, you see the other side do it. I mean, they have a thing here every year on Earth Day. They have a big event that we exhibited there at the Gourd Farm one year. And I call it Hate Day because it was just so much hatred and so much against, pushing against all the time. And it was just like, we're never going back to that. It wasn't that we don't love the earth and want to, make things better, but that particular thing, it just brought out all the anger. That's the other side, right? And so where's our event where we come out? Do we need to create one, Lewis? Is that what's needed? We need to be the ones to spark it?
We can. I just don't feel like we would get a big enough showing. You know what I mean? We can. Yeah, but it just hit me. If we think about during the week, I get why conservatives won't show up.
They're working.
They actually have jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So I get that. On the weekends, they're with their kids also, but there's a whole swath that aren't with their children. Although their children probably should go to a nice peaceful march anyways, helping the children. That being said, though, now it just hit me that virtually or most of the more popular events and things that go on the weekend are kind of conservative based. You've got NASCAR, conservatives like the WWE, hockey, the NFL in general. I'm generalizing, guys. Going hunting, so on and so forth. So there's a lot to divert their attention, or maybe they're just good people and they're taking care of their household since they're working Monday through Friday. They're like, okay, it's time to do the honeydews. Do this. I got to get the house done to get on the treadmill and go back to Monday. So I don't want to make excuses for them, but I do recognize that it's harder for them. I think you should be able to tear down walls in order to get to an event like that.
You would think. I mean, there's so many of us, and we're all feeling the same way. We're all united in how we feel, and it's like, okay, so is it just that we're lacking a leader? Because Trump can get in there. Trump says, hey, I'm going into this town within 24 hours. He's got 10,000 people showing up, right? So obviously there is a way to do it.
So here, and I really appreciate Trump. I just made a beautiful video that we'll probably end with. That's a dedication to Trump. So I don't want people to take this wrong.
Right.
But the reality is Trump can get him there because there's a bunch of people that idolize Trump.
Right.
And they look at him as the savior, which we're trying to teach people not to do. So he can bring him out in force to meeting, because that's how they react with idols. That's the way they react with Beyonce and so on and so forth. Now, and Trump understands that, right? But he keeps throwing it right back to us and saying it's up to we the people now. It's we the people. He's saying it over and over. So people get frustrated at me that I say this, but he's leading on this front, and he said the 47th president is going to be we the people.
Yeah,
that's his words. He said it when he was inaugurated. Standing in front of the military, he says, we've turned it over to we the people now. So when do we pick up that mantle and believe it? Or do we just keep going to his rallies and saying, you're the best, we love Trump, but we never do what he's recommending?
Well, we could have been in San Francisco today and be the ones holding the American flags because there were none there.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's like there's opportunities. It's not like there's no opportunities. There's no lack of them.
And it probably we would have got our asses kicked too. That's the climate that we're in.
Yeah.
But I would have done it for sure.
Yeah, but if there was enough of them, enough of us who showed up, if we showed up, 10,000 of us showed up. Hard to
Yep.
kick 10,000 asses. One, yeah, but not 10,000. You know.
Yep.
I'm just saying, it's like like I said, we got to come together. We've got to be united in this battle. And it's not that
Yep.
we're asking you to take up arms. That's not the goal here. The goal is that we're together and we're drawing the line in the sand and we're saying no more. We're not accepting this anymore. We're not
Yep.
playing the games.
So true too. It's interesting too, is I watch our live audience, and I know every time we talk about people having to step up, we lose audience every single time.
Wow.
That tells you a lot about the people that are dropping off, right? Maybe it's hitting home a little bit.
Maybe. Maybe.
I think it's very interesting, but clearly we don't care about how large our audience is, because we're going to continue to just do what's in our heart and what's right and God driven. And this conversation needs to be had here and there.
It does, and we have to inspire and in a way and let you know that the threat is more optics than it is real. Like you said, I mean, if you take a percentage of the people who were arrested in January 6th, it's a very small number, and it's really insignificant at the end of the day. Yes, it's significant to those who are arrested and are in jail. Certainly it's significant and affected their lives, but there's a lot more of them that were there that will have no impact from it. So
right.
We've got to be able to pull more levers. I mean, some people don't even share things on social media because they're afraid, and the fear is palpable for them. And I get it. It's challenging. Go ahead and set up an account under a different name if you need to, if that's what it takes. But that messaging has to keep going out there.
Right. So two things that are in the chat I want to address.
Okay.
One, it says Patriots showed up but are held back, seen on Steve Bannon. So that's interesting, because I know you watch Steve Bannon. So they're saying people may have showed up, but they were held back. That would be interesting. And then we have this constant mantra that we always hear. This is somebody in chat is saying, we showed up, J6, we were united, where did that get us, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure, do we have to win every battle? Is that the way a war works? I'm really confused. That was a massive, wonderful thing that we showed up. It's a display that galvanizes people from here going forward. So they arrested 1,000 out of 2 million people, and we consider that a loss?
Yeah.
Don't believe the PSYOP. That's all I'm telling you. That's what they want you to feel. They want you to get down. They want you to be out. They want you to say, oh, look it, we did this, and it never works. Guys, DC is a corporation. I've been screaming at the top of my lungs. It's completely different. We still, believe it or not, have due process in the rest of the country. And I talk to people daily, and we're getting traction in cities and counties and so on and so forth. Some are going to be harder than others. And I can tell you, DC is going to be the hardest, because it is deep, deep, deep state. It is the epitome of the swamp. So, yeah. For us to show up in force at one rally and think everything's going to change, not. Yeah. We got more work to do.
Win the war, we've got to win the battles in between, and that's what we're in right now. And guys, like it or not, we're in the battle. We're in the war, and there's no way to ignore it. There's no way to say it's not happening. It's not happening. It's impacting everybody. And there's no way around it at this point. We're too far in, right? It's not 2019 anymore, where if we were knowing then what we know now, we may have been able to put a stop to it all, but that thing is really, it's left the station. It's got a lot of momentum. It's going to be harder to stop, but we're going to stop it. Not singularly, as a group, we're going to be able to stop it. So right. I have a lot of faith that we're going to be able to do that.
I do too. I see the momentum is on our side right now.
Absolutely. All right, let's go over the pond. Let's go over to Israel. The information that comes out is very unlike, well, there was an accident down on Main Street, and there are 20 people who saw it, and 10 of them had their cameras out, right? And you kind of get the feel for what's going on. This is not what happens in a war zone. What happens in a war zone is hearsay from a distance. Somebody said, who told me who somebody else said, right? It's that kind of thing. So the messaging is really, really crazy. And you can't go into it, and I keep telling you this, you can't go into this believing everything that comes out. So now there's a video out today where IDF, the Israel Defense Force, their military, is showing that they went into the hospital, but they were kind about it. They were removing patients. They were bringing supplies. They were evacuating where needed. and they went in and they found weapons caches and things that they had been talking about. So in the hospital, all those weapons. And you saw the bag of basmati rice, and they opened it up, and it was ammunition. So
there's my question.
Yeah.
How do we know that was in a hospital?
That's what they're claiming it is.
Right, and that's my point. Is
Yep.
both sides.
Both sides.
It's all about propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
It's all propaganda from Israel. It's propaganda from Hamas.
Yep.
It's just all propaganda. I mean, it's really hard to wade through this information fog, and that's what we're in right now. Do I believe it's possible? Yeah. What's really going on?
You've got to look at the videos
a little
too.
bit of both.
Yeah, and you look at the videos too, and you go, "Are these from this war? Are they from a different war?" You don't know because there's no way to tell. It's not like I could say, "Oh yeah, that's Main Street. I recognize that building."
Yeah,
it's just buildings. I don't know what they are.
Yep, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's really, really tough.
So the propaganda is on both sides, and this is why when people are saying, "I'm staunchly on this side" or "I'm staunchly on this side," it's like, well, it depends which propaganda feed you're believing. Because both could be wrong, both could be right.
Yep, absolutely.
And it's one of these things where we're challenged by it. This is from Gateway Pundit. The Israeli Army IDF has entered the Hamas headquarters in Al-Shifa Hospital and told Al Jazeera Hamas can go to hell. Security Minister Ben Gvir urged all eligible Israelis to buy firearms. Arm yourself and save lives. So he urged Israelis to arm themselves in self-defense. So 236,606 new applications for private weapons licenses have been submitted to the Firearms Division since October 7th. That's as many as in the past 20 years. This is in Israel. Arm yourself, baby. Lock and load.
Yep. So does Hamas really have their own parliament?
Yeah, there was a photo of them all in the parliament. It's not a very big. It looks like a classroom, but it's not. It's not fancy.
And I don't feel like that's being done very well.
No, and there was a report out of Israel that one of these reporters was in there, and they're like, "Oh, all the Gaza people, they're just as nasty as the Hamas," and they're like, "You can't say that by talking to a few of them. You got to see more than just a few."
Well, how about all the videos that are out there where Israelis are saying they have really good friends that are Palestinian?
Yeah,
and they like them a lot.
Yeah,
but they don't play those videos.
No, it doesn't fit the narrative. Doesn't fit the narrative. What are we going to do? Just to note, it is thundering here. We don't often get thunderstorms. I'm hoping the power doesn't go out. It's going to wipe out our feed again.
Thunder, lightning, very, very frightening. Yeah. That's a song. Anybody can put it in there. Put it in chat.
Cool. All right. Marjorie Taylor Greene was on Capitol Hill doing a committee, or what do they call it, a hearing. The numbers are that we're going to show you here are actually older numbers. They're not the recent numbers. And I went on looking for the recent numbers, and they haven't been updated in a year.
Right. And do we know if she's grabbing those from VAERS or DHS?
Open VAERS, yeah.
Open VAERS, okay.
Yeah.
By the way, so whatever she shows you, multiply by 20, because VAERS is a 5% reporting maximum. Used to be 1%. So everybody should multiply that number by 20. And like Robert says, that was a year ago.
Yeah. And I went to look today because I wanted the updated numbers, and they're the same as they were a year ago. So they're not reporting anymore.
Because they're only getting worse. So they're not going to.
They're getting worse, exactly. And what's also happening is if you talk to people in the hospitals, they don't even know how to report to VAERS. And then if they do manage to fill out the form and submit it, it still has to go through an approval process. And then what we found out is a lot of them are getting deleted. Even after they're approved, they're still getting removed. So that information, some people are saying it's 41 times higher. Some people are saying it's 1,000 times higher. We don't really know. They're all estimates, all over the board.
So you made a good point. So what happens is everything that's submitted from a hospital, many hospitals have regulations that it has to go through administration first.
Yep.
So if your administration, by the way, already knows that because it implicates that hospital at the same time.
Right.
So it's not an accident that the income comes in and the bad news goes out through the exact same channel. And oops, bury that one, delete that one.
Yep.
It's pretty disgusting, guys. This is the world we live in today, though. And this is why I always say, tear it all down and let's rebuild. And then somebody goes, are you talking about Build Back Better? No, I am not talking about build. I'm using common sense. You got to tear this stuff down.
Now we're talking about rebuild. Not Build Back Better. We're talking about complete rebuild. Yeah.
Yeah. Rebuild, re-back, and re-better.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, so it's you have to. We're going to have to tear the system down, and then keep in place maybe 10% of it. And I think everybody's going to live a happy life if we had 10% of all the bureaucracy that we have worldwide. People will suddenly go, "Wow, we're free. We can make our own decisions." How cool is that?
Well, there are nurses reporting too that they were prohibited from the management in the hospital from reporting to VAERS.
Yeah,
they're threatened if you do that.
Everybody should watch this video. She literally shows you how the manipulation works. So her knowledge is phenomenal. And I'm not talking just pets, on humans, and the game that they've been playing so long, and how she said exactly what we talked about, how they slowly acclimated us to where we are today.
Yep.
And it's completely intentional. Very, very interesting.
If you look at the beach photos, just the general beach photos, and I have some because in the 70s I was a photographer already, and not professionally, but I always had a camera with me. Take pictures of people on the beach. There's almost nobody overweight. There's certainly nobody obese. And you look at the obesity today, it's 20% of the population is obese, and 70% of the population is overweight.
Yeah, well, to speak to that, so I was a teenager in the 70s. And when we would go to the beach, right, the fact is, when we saw a very large person on the beach, people would mention, they're like, "Oh my," right?
Yep.
That's not because they're a bunch of bad kids. It was just an anomaly for them, right? They're just like, "Oh Lord, look how large that person is," right? Unfortunately now, because of the way we've been conditioned to get to where we need to, is horrible. And you're right, pictures of the beach is overwhelmingly people are a lot larger.
Yeah.
So and I'll talk about my addiction. My addiction is sugar-based drinks, right? That would be my main deal, which is really, really bad. So bad is I'm making a transition off of that. Hopefully, starting Friday. I always start in a day or two and then push it back another week, right? But the reality is, I don't want to be a hypocrite, so I'm going to be doing a documentary on sugar, and I already know the bad effects of sugar. So therefore, I need to be a living example, and can't be putting out a documentary on that and just still being the fat pig that I am, eating sugar all the time.
Good for you, setting the example and leading by example more appropriately.
Well, and telling on myself, it's important, right?
Yep.
And yes, Unicorn, I do use Stevia.
Stevia, yeah.
That Unicorn put Stevia, but I use Stevia, but not as much as I should.
Right.
My default is honey now. I've convinced myself that I can eat a half a jar of honey and not have any ill effects from that.
Okay, I've been using stevia for many years too. And what I just learned about stevia is it was used way back then to sterilize men.
Yeah, I've been hearing about that too.
Yeah. I don't know if that's true. I'm gonna have to dig into that a little bit, but there's no matter what you use, I think if you go back to
wait, how funny is this? So Unicorn's talking about the soda Stevia,
right? Mm-hmm.
Which I did transition to. Look at this. It just happened to be on my desk.
Zero calories, zero. That's sweetened with stevia and erythritol, right?
Yeah, not a fan, by the way.
No.
So I didn't finish it, but that's ironic because I never drink that, and it just happened to be on my desk right now.
Well, maybe that's a sign that you're supposed to be drinking more of that. Who knows?
Yep, we'll see.
That's a good question, right? Who made them?
Satan.
Satan? Well, here's Tom Renz.
You want the easy answer, right? Well, we don't even need to reverse engineer it. Let's just go right back to the source.
Tom Renz has some information on where they came from. Things that stand out to me. Number one, what kind of tables were they sitting behind? This is supposed to be a hearing in front of Congress. It looked like plastic tables with horribly salmon-colored tablecloths. And if you notice the chairs behind, there's nobody sitting there.
So
weird.
This is a makeshift movie set, maybe?
Yeah. Are they in some kind of conference room? They're not really on Capitol Hill? Is that what we're trying to...
Well, that's kind of what we're hearing, isn't it? Which should be exciting for everybody if that's the fact.
Yeah. So you were right about what you had said before. He then asked, does anybody believe we transferred that sort of bioweapon technology to a CCP lab without an okay from the DOD or CIA? I got news for you. They knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
You think? I mean, this should be front page, headline news, every media across everything, to realize, guys, they just blew it open. This is what we've been waiting for, this information. And that room was half empty.
Well, and if that room was really even in the Congress is a great question.
That is a great question because, we have another clip here. You're going to see the room again. Just notice the surroundings, notice the chairs behind, notice the really crappy tables and the horrible salmon-colored tablecloths. I mean, if it was a hotel, those would be black. They'd be classy, right? It would be this salmon color. Ugh, what's that about? Man, don't mind salmon color. 50 layers of liability protection. Can't break through it.
Nope. So I figured out the conversation a day before Renz showed up to Congress. You hear Chuck Schumer go, Nancy, Tom Renz is going to be here. Tom Renz is going to be here. She goes, great. Put him in the break room. We're all set up. Good to go. It's ridiculous. That does not look like anything you would see in the halls of any political establishment in any state, much less the country.
It looks like a classroom in a college, classroom. It just doesn't.
Here's a break room. Let's throw a couple chairs in there.
The wireframe chairs. I mean, come on, and nobody in them. I mean, you got 2-3 people against the wall, and that's about it. And the rest of the chairs are empty. I'm like,
no, great eye, Robert. Yeah. Something is wacky on there. I agree.
Well, yeah, and let's not call attention to what's really going on now. Let's just do this in private, right? I don't know. The media should have been there. They're not.
Well, they don't. I have no expectations for them yet. No. I don't think we're that point in this awakening where the mainstream media is going to really be exposing. I think it's a drip deal right now.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that's, all of us, as we continue to put the message out there, as we continue to talk about this, is how we're breaking through. Some people say we're not making any progress. We're making a lot of progress. There are a lot of people whose eyes are open that wouldn't have been in 2021. They didn't want to hear it. And now they're like, something's not right here, right? At least they're asking that question. And that allows us the door open a little bit that we can start feeding them the information. Don't overwhelm them, but feed them the information where they can come around to it. I was surprised my cousins in Canada were aware, much more so than they were in 2021, about what's going on.
Yeah, I think it's what's more important than the optics of a lot of people seeing these videos and it becoming really public right now, I believe, is the stuff is getting on record. We talked about this a couple of shows ago. It's getting on record and it's getting on video. That's never going to go away. So when the time comes out, the whole case will be laid out. Look we said this, Renz said this there, we knew about this there, RFK Jr. was reporting this. How did these guys know this? Here's the manipulation in the numbers. This is all for a future. He said the word, by the way, which I've mentioned many times. He said RICO, right? This is for a future RICO Nuremberg type of trial. Yep. So, and again, I always go back to this. I did a video for Mike Lindell calling the mother of all lawsuits. And I broke 87 pages down. And one of the reasons that I did is because I was very curious what direction he was going in. When I read it, I'm like, wow. He put RICO in there a lot. And if you look at the history of RICO, where and how it's been used, this is a easy takedown when we actually get these things into real trials with real judges. But we're in process of exposing all this. I think that's what all these Trump deals are about, is exposing the bad judges, by the way, and the bad DAs and the bad attorney generals. I think this is still part of the exposure, the reveal. And then next we have to clean those houses up, and then we will end up having these trials. Mark my words.
Yeah, everyone's been saying that. I think that's accurate. It's, it didn't appear that way certainly at first, but now we're looking at it and saying, okay, it kind of makes sense now that this is about exposing the bad guys. And, like you said, if Trump would have won in 2020, we'd be starting this process in 2024 when they got their guy in, right? And it's kind of good that we're here. We're far along. We're in the third quarter. We'll get this done, right?
Yeah. I hypothesized that we wouldn't be started in 2024 because Trump would have been in there 4 more years. Everybody would have been on a high. They get their deep state person back in there, and then we'd we'll deal with it for another 4-8 years. We'll eventually get our guy back. And then literally, I think it would have set us back 20 years if President Trump would have been in office.
Yeah.
That's what people have to understand. And sorry, they may have ended up accomplishing everything too. So at minimum, it would have set us back 16 to 20 years just based on the election schedule itself. So it's important that he did not get into office. It's very important that he did not get into office.
Yeah.
We are learning, and now it's an accelerated pace. I had people, 2 different separate people wanted to talk, 3 actually, in the last 2 days were texting me about what do I think, what's going to happen next. And I don't do dates. I'm the same with my friends. I'm the same way. I'm like, I don't do dates.
You do dates with your wife. Come on.
Yes, right. Yeah. But I don't play the date game, right? About predictions and stuff like that. To me, that's an ego play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do that. And so I told them, I go, well, I don't do dates, but if you just look at the trajectory and the momentum of what's happening, this whole thing, I think, is going to blow up, literally, if not physically, very, very soon.
Getting close. I really do feel that we're in it now, and certainly the next few months are going to be a little choppy, but we're going to get to the other side. And, Louis, you and I can look at some things as simple as, hey, this website's not working or that website's not working, and why can't I get my? It's like all these things that are coming up. It's all part of it, and it's hard to see it as separate because some of the things that are happening on the web aren't normal. Right? A website that we use that is highly reliable, that is, they're there and they have hurricane disaster and they have backups and generators, not accessible for 2 solid days?
Yeah.
That didn't make any sense, right?
No, I agree. I agree. But the brainwashing works. So how do you break the brainwashing? You have to make people feel extraordinarily uncomfortable.
Yep.
And that's what's happening. And they don't even know why. There's I don't know how many liberals I hear nowadays that are going, something's just off. Something just doesn't make sense.
Yep.
The whole world's falling apart, and I just don't understand what's going on. Okay, well, that's good. That's a start.
Yep.
That's a
the door's
start.
cracked open now. Now we can get in. Yep.
Right. So but I'm hearing that all over the place. I just don't, social media, it's just, things aren't making sense anywhere. Okay. We're getting in there.
We will, and I think that's the thing is, like you said it from the beginning, that people will wake up when it I always say it when it lands in their lap, when it hits them personally, and in many cases it's going to be in the pocketbook when the banking system stops and nobody has any money. Everyone wakes up. Then 24 hours, everyone's going to be aware. Boom! It's just going to happen like that, and we know we're headed for it. We know we're headed for that financial cliff. And don't ask me what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know if it's gold. I don't know if it's silver. I don't know if it's digital. I don't know anything. Stuff the covers with $20 bills. I have no idea. But we're headed for that. All of us are. Yep. And when that happens, that's going to be the shift. It's going to be certainly a massive tipping point.
Absolutely agree.
Questions. Look what I got in the mail today. Fresh bottle of NutraSwish. Not even opened. Fresh bottle. So excited.
Yours is a different color than mine. Let me see. Maybe it's just
my camera.
Yeah, it's your camera.
Yeah,
okay.
Put it in the dark. We are big fans of NutraSwish here. We use it. I'm using it 3 times a day. And look at Lewis. Hey. I got it too.
Oh, do you?
I got it too. You said I got to use it. Haven't used it yet. I just hate things on my face. But I'm going to try it. I'm going to give it a shot and see. It's supposed to be really, really good to make you look 10 years younger. And how do I know? Because I look at Bruce Poppy and I say, my God, you look 12. What have you been doing?
Yeah, he's looking a lot younger. It's
he
crazy.
is. He really is. The wrinkles are all gone. His face is brighter. He's looking a lot better, a lot healthier than he's ever looked. So NutraSwish or Neumi is the company called. They have 3 great products out right now. The NutraSwish, which is a nanoparticleized glutathione product. Glutathione is really important for the body as the master detoxer, or the master, not detoxer, antioxidant is what I'm trying to go for. Helps you with oxidative stress, which is, we're all exposed to that all day long with what we're eating, drinking, and we have stress in our lives. Body needs a little help. The liver is the organ that takes care of that, and this helps the liver. And the cool thing about it, they also added turmeric in it, which helps with inflammation. If you want to know what's behind a lot of joint pain, that's it. It's inflammation. So this helps reduce inflammation, helps you clear out toxicity, and certainly gives you more energy, helps you recover faster. My favorite product, and we talked about Neumi Skin. This one is a spray on your skin. And some women are doing it, I hear, 6 to 8 times a day. How often do you do it?
I do it too.
So, and you can see on their website, they have a lot of before and after photos, and they're stunning. I mean, the women don't even look the same, how much it's changed their complexion. I'm going to have to do that with Bruce. I'm going to have to get a before and after picture with him, too.
So it's interesting. So the owner of the company, Steve, which is actually a really, really nice guy, when they came out with the skin, his son tried to convince him to just spray one side of his face. So you have the before and afters right there. You don't have to take 2 pictures, right? And he said he knew how good the product was. He's like, I am not going to do that. I'm going to look like a buffoon. But he did spray one hand for a couple of weeks, and you can dramatically see the difference on that.
Yeah, you can use it on any part of your body, not just your face. The face is the most visible, but you can use a neckline. Sometimes you got some wrinkles and things there you want to get rid of and brighten up. That is a great tool. And they have a new product for women called Herms, which is a nice purple bottle. Really good for cramp relief, decreasing bloating, hormone balance. There you go. Lewis has got it there. Minimizing hot flashes, improves sleep, boosts your natural energy, increases libido, helps with your mood. And there are a lot of women who are ordering this. I've seen a lot of orders come through in the past couple of weeks. A lot of women are like, I got to try this. I got to try this product. So I'm going to give you the link here, and you can go over and have a look at it. renegademedia.tv/energy. You can scan that QR code and it'll take you right there. Get all 3. Honestly, give it a shot. Give it a fair shot. Try all 3. Wow, this storm's really kicking up. It's really thundering out there. Okay, we've got a few more stories to cover. Can you hear that thunder? It is so loud.
No, it's been raining here all day, which
Woo.
is interesting.
It's right over. The whole house is shaking.
No, nobody answered the question. I said thunder, lightning, very, very frightening. What song was that from? Put it in chat, and you'll win a thumbs up.
I didn't hear anybody get it. All right. So Democrats are reeling because the Spanish language news leader changes its tune on Trump, is now actually supporting Trump. And here's a quick commercial they put. I think it's kind of funny. Not in English, though, guys.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Pretty cool, huh?
Just laughing that he comes over in English after that.
I know.
I'm Donald Trump. I approve this. Why not say it in Spanish?
Yeah. I guess he didn't want to sound bad.
That was hilarious. You notice that I guess the first couple of people that were danced just like Donald Trump.
I know. I saw that. They're just mimicking him. That's
So we know
fantastic.
where he gets his influence from, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He knows. So this was Univision. Trump had a falling out with Univision, and apparently it's under new ownership now. And Jared Kushner connected Univision with Trump, and they did an interview with him, and then they've got this commercial. So now they're all in supporting him, and the Democrats are going crazy because that was their channel before. And Univision is watched by a lot of the Spanish-speaking population in this country.
Well, just to be frank, Spanish people aren't into boarding all their kids. So
Yep.
and then you look at the economy, and we've talked to many immigrants from south of the border here. They're not happy about open borders. In fact, they're like, why did I have to work so hard and go through the process? And these guys not only get in for free, they get a paycheck.
Yeah.
How's that work? So there's a lot of resentment from the Hispanic community right now in regards to what's going on at the border. And I believe it's well over 60% pro-Trump right now. So this is going to be the election is unwinnable if it's a fair and free election.
Correct. Yep.
There's nothing that could be done in the Biden administration or the Democrats within the next year. Now, it's interesting. So when she was saying her message, she was in line with the camera the whole time.
Yep.
When she was addressing him, right, she was focused, laser-eyed right on him. And I appreciate that a lot.
Yep.
So she says, I'm off the camera. I'm going to deal with this bastard right now. And she was like, bam.
You know what the hell you're talking about. I'm out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
The truth is more of us need to be doing that. We need to be approaching it this way and just not letting that narrative continue. It's like stop it right in its tracks, because now, they've had too much rain. We've been too polite, I think, with that. And
I agree.
It's time to say no more. We're not playing the game anymore.
It's time to get in people's faces.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know that upsets people.
Yep.
The light and love crowd. I get it. But it's time. We need to step up, and we need to show exactly what's going on, and that we know what's going on. And no, we're not going to take your BS rhetoric anymore. And I'm talking to people on the. Stand
up, my friend, and start talking. Right?
I didn't even know Eddie Murphy was a Trump supporter.
Who knew? Right?
I just didn't know. So yeah, that's very important. Well, I really sincerely believe that virtually every metric, except for the T in LGBTQ, or the TQ and everything after that,
right,
I think understands what's going on in this country, and the majority, 51% or more, are supporting Trump. People are going to be shocked when they actually see the numbers of gays that are supporting Trump. They are going to fall off their chair. And what people are going to learn also is the majority of gays don't promote or support the LGBTQ plus MLMOPXYRZ, whatever it is, agenda. They don't support that.
Yep.
And if anybody goes back to when Harvey Milk commissioned to have the flag built, it was he just wanted exposure for the gay community, letting other people step back, and they let them have it, and they were used. But I think people are going to find out that Hispanics, blacks, gays, and women in general will overwhelmingly be in support of President Trump.
It's literally across the board, and you said it right. If we had a clean and fair election and we got to see the actual numbers, it would blow your mind. I mean, there's some people who said in 2020, Trump got close to 100 million votes. Not the 74 that they allowed him to have, and they gave Biden 81. Can you imagine Biden winning by 7 million votes? I'm like, are you kidding me?
Well, Biden would say it himself. Come on, man.
Yeah, exactly. I don't get it. It doesn't work like this. You said something very important. You said they're not going to be able to show up in public, and here's true.
Great Britain secede from the European Union.
Yep.
I think that's going to be a big deal coming here, because I have to give credit to the Brits. And trust me, it's very hard for me to do that.
But you got to do it. Yep, yeah. I hear you.
The Brits are coming out in force lately.
Yep.
In protest and exposure and lawsuits and documentation and everything. They are coming out in force. So I'm really curious to see when this tries to matriculate, which they'll try to do, over into Great Britain. Let's see how they push back on this. Just try putting up a ULEZ camera, it gets cut down, or a ULEZ van, it gets stickered up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're leading by example, and this is all part of that this movie that we're talking about. In my opinion, I have to state that because the Brits seceded from the European Union, right? I call it secession. That's ultimately what it was, right? Which shocked them because they thought they bought enough votes and had the election tricked, but they still, like Trump did, they still got that 51%. Then what happens, though, so that's step one. Step two is look at the way that people are rising up. So they're setting an example, which I believe is going to permeate the rest of the European Union, and you're going to see very similar things going. Now, the sad thing, folks, and I've been saying this forever, that would give you the example of why this stuff doesn't happen very fast. Because there has to be one little example to another example and so on and so forth. So, I do think there's going to be a lot happen in the next couple months just because of the momentum and the trajectory that we see. That being said, I understand why it's going slowly because everybody needs an example. And then now they're going, okay, look what the Brits are doing. They're having some successes too, by the way. So we'll have to see what's going on there. So interesting dilemma. I don't trust the digital currency, never have. I know a lot of the patriots talk about having a digital type currency. And my question is same with the med beds. Who's programming it?
Yep.
If you don't trust that it's a godly source programming it, I would stay very clear of both of those things.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the thing we're looking at. And he said, "Oh, it's just an identity passport right now." And then he's like, "Well, then we've got the wallet in there. Then you've got to fill it with something. What is it going to be? A central bank digital currency? Well, that's not going to be fun, right?"
Yep.
Yeah. So moving in that direction, crazy. All right, we got a couple of fun videos for you guys before we wrap up here. We're a little over time. I didn't think that our show would go quite as long today, but hey, this is fun.
Because I'm a blustering fool, that's why.
Here we go.